Okay, I'd like to call the school committee meeting, regular school committee meeting of Wednesday, January 25th to order. And would you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to defer to the superintendent and mayor for a few words. Superintendent?
Thank you. If you could please keep in your thoughts and prayers Claire McGillicuddy, who was an office paraprofessional at Squantum Elementary School for over 25 years. Again, if you could keep Claire and her family in your thoughts and prayers.
In addition, I would ask those at home and those with us here today, perhaps in whatever faith tradition you may hold, maybe an extra prayer of peace with all that's going on in the world, in our country, and right here on the South Shore. All kinds of challenges, certainly in the Ukraine as well. So if you could do that, whatever, again, faith tradition, I think that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent, please call the roll.
Mr. Begoli?
Present.
Mrs. Cahill? Mr. Gattro?
Present.
Mrs. Hubley?
Present.
Mrs. Lebo?
Present.
Mrs. Santoro?
Present.
And Mayor Koch.
Present.
Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. I will entertain a motion to approve the regular minute meetings of January 11th. On a motion of Mr. Bergoli, seconded by Mrs. Lebo, we approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Executive session minutes for January 11th. On a motion of Mr. Guttrow, seconded by Mrs. Hubley, we approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Open forum. This is an opportunity for community input regarding the QPS community. And in this context, that community is defined as a parent of a student who attends QPS or an employee of QPS. Non-community people may not permitted to speak at open forum, but they could submit written statements to the school committee. And if you are speaking after giving your name and address, please make your presentation no more than 4 minutes. Any individual may not exchange their time or yield to others. Interested parties may also submit written statements. Do we have anybody tonight for open forum? Seeing none?
One written statement.
I have one.
Oh, one written statement.
Yes.
Go ahead. Mrs. Owens.
Yes, this letter was submitted by Kate Campbell and Liz Speakman. Dear school committee members, on behalf of Citywide PTO and the EDI subcommittee, we respectfully request that you continue to provide live streaming of the subcommittee meetings. We were surprised and disappointed that the most recent EDI subcommittee meeting was not streamed live. There was no notice given that we wouldn't be able to view this meeting. Please provide transparency and accessibility to all of the meetings so we can be informed of the issues affecting our children.
Thank you. Superintendent's report. QPS student recognitions, Project 351. Superintendent?
Thank you, Mr. Santoro. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. Our first QPS student recognition regards Project 351, which is a statewide service organization that brings together 8th grade students from every city and town in Massachusetts. QPS has been a part of Project 351 since the beginning in 2011, and principals and teachers nominate an ambassador for each of our 5 middle schools. For the first time since 2020, on Saturday, January 14th, students participated in an in-person Day of Service project at different locations, including Project Bread and Cradles to Crayons. Congratulations to the Quincy Public Schools Project 351 ambassadors for 2023. For Broad Meadows, it was Zainab Elki Nani, Central Ellie Cordero, Point Webster, Susie Francisco Ribeiro. For Southwest Middle School, Jay Nalis Montanez, and for Atlantic, Grace Warren. Again, congratulations to all of our impressive ambassadors. And also congratulations to the high school concert choir Students Mary Doherty, Maya Egan, Matthew Hollitz, Devereaux Fuller, Geo McKenzie, and Lun Tai, and band students Yu Fan Mei and Fanny Yang for their participation in Massachusetts Music Educators Association Eastern District Senior Festival. After undergoing a competitive audition process in November, these students were selected to perform with other top-ranking high school musicians from over 30 school districts in eastern Massachusetts. The Senior District Festival took place at Boston Latin School on January 6th and January 7th, and ended with a concert that featured performances from the orchestra, concert band, jazz ensemble, and the mixed chorus. Again, congratulations to these high school concert choir students. QPS and community events. The Point Webster Middle School held their Multicultural Festival on January 12th with students and families sharing cultural traditions and food from 23 different countries. The Quincy Public Schools Winter Recital was held on January 18th, featuring students from both high schools in solo and ensemble performances from strings, choir, band, and jazz music students. So thank you to all the students who participated in that event. And our upcoming Quincy Public Schools events include a Parent Academy for parents and guardians of students in kindergarten through grade 5, to introduce the new curriculum program, Core Knowledge Language Arts. This will occur on Tuesday, February 7th at 6 p.m. on Google Meet. So that will be remote on Google Meet. And the link can be found on the QPS website, as well as social media posts that QPS has been posting on social media. And then next, the Quincy High School STEM Fair will be held on Tuesday, February 7th, and North Quincy High School will host theirs on Thursday, February 9th. Both events will be from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m., and members of the community are invited to volunteer as a judge for either or both of the STEM Fair events. Links to sign up are found on the QPS website and social media. Any questions, please feel free to call the superintendent's office as well. And lastly is the registration for the 2023-2024 school year is underway for all grade levels. The online link for families to pre-register is posted on the Quincy Public Schools website. Pre-registered families will be contacted by school secretaries and central registration beginning in early February to schedule registration appointments. And with that, that ends the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Moving on to item 4, old business. Item A, revision to policy section 4.3, which is the grants, proposals, and special projects. Mr. Bergoli to present.
Thank you, Mr. Santoro. This was brought before the January 9th Policy Subcommittee meeting, and it's to bring our policy in line with the state regulations that have been just revised. Any discussion on this?
Discussion?
Seeing none?
Seeing none.
Okay, the second item on the agenda is the revisions to policy section 11.7, public gifts to the Quincy Public Schools. Again, this was brought before the policy subcommittee meeting on January 9th. Any further discussion on this particular item?
Any members of the committee? Seeing none, Mr. Bergoli?
Okay, we'll move it to regular school committee, and then 23-24 school committee meeting calendar. Any discussion on this? This is our regular thing we do every year, so. Any questions or revisions to this?
Seeing none, Mr. Bergoli?
Seeing none, then we'll move it on.
Okay, thank you. New business, Quincy Public Schools Elementary Math Interventionist, Mrs. Quinn to present. Superintendent, any comments?
Thank you. No, I would just like to welcome our math curriculum coordinator, Kim Quinn. If Kim could please introduce the members of her team tonight, that would be great. Welcome, everyone.
Good evening, Mayor Koch, members of the school committee, Superintendent Mulvey, members of the SLT. I am grateful to be presenting tonight with 3 members of the Math Interventionist team, Elise Oliveri, Holly Davis, and Julie Campbell. And a shout out to 2 Math Interventionists who are here to support us tonight from the audience, Nicole Petrie and Rita Barry. It gives us great pleasure to share with you some of the many things that you'll find the Math Interventionist team doing on any given day. We currently have 9 members of our team, 3 of whom are brand new this year, and it was with your support that we were able to add these 3 amazing members to our team. So thank you again for that. So let's take a moment and get to know the team a little better.
It's ready. I have been fortunate enough to be a teacher at Snug Harbor School for the past 34 years. I've been a kindergarten teacher, a first grade teacher, and a second grade teacher. For the last 7 years, I have been a math interventionist. I love teaching math. One of my favorite aspects of this position is the team teaching component, working together to benefit all students. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Elise Oliveri, and I've been teaching math for the past 29 years for the Quincy Public Schools. But this is my first year as a math interventionist. For the past 28 years, I've been teaching middle school math at Atlantic. Why the change? Simple. I have many students in the middle school who come to me feeling that math is boring and that they can't do math. Well, I want to change that. And as a math interventionist, I can instill my love for math to my young students. I can help them develop the concepts that they need to be confident problem solvers. Through fun games and a positive atmosphere, over the years, they will be confident and they will come to middle school feeling that they are able to do math. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Holly Davis. I've been a QPS teacher for about 30 years and a math interventionist for the past 10 years. I love creating a fun, engaging learning environment for students. I enjoy working with the kids to build and solidify their understanding of math concepts. It's a joy to see them experience success in the area of mathematics and to develop a love for learning.
I am Deb McDonald, and I've been a math interventionist for the past 11 years at Clifford Marshall, adding Montclair Elementary to my schools that I service this year. Pushing into the classrooms gives me the opportunity to be responsive to more students' needs, and the collaboration with classroom teachers helps us both become better math educators. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Rita Barry. I've been a math interventionist at Lincoln Hancock for 14 years. I love my job, being able to support students in the classroom and outside the classroom in small group where they can't find success in math. One thing that makes me smile about my job is hearing my students who do struggle with math say, math is my favorite subject. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nicole Petrie, and I'm a math interventionist at Lincoln Hancock School and have been for 14 years, adding Wollaston to my list this year. And I am fortunate enough to work with students in grades 1 through 4 and helping them grow into confident mathematicians. And my favorite part is the relationship I build with families. And many students I really keep in touch with all the way up to middle school. And they tell me, oh, math's easy now, Mrs. Petrie. It's really, really clicking with me. And I even keep in touch with some students who have graduated from Quincy Public Schools and they have gone on to college or have started other careers. It's just a very rewarding position, and I'm very lucky to have it. Thank you.
My name is Julie Campbell, and I'm a first-year math interventionist at Beechwood Knoll and Bernazani schools. Prior to my role as a math interventionist, I worked at Marymount School in grades 2 through 5 for 21 years. And what I love most about teaching math is that I love when children can use their creativity to solve problems in different ways, yet they arrive at the same answer. And when they share that, and those aha moments are just amazing to see. And I love helping kids to build their confidence in math over time.
Hi, my name is Mary Burns, and I've been working at Snug Harbor for 14 years. I started as a math interventionist, was a third grade math focus teacher and returned to math intervention 5 years ago. My favorite part of being an interventionist is working with students in a small group setting and meeting them at a place where they can become successful and confident in math.
Hi, my name is Christina McNeil, and this is my first year as a math interventionist at Atherton Howe and Parker Elementary. Prior to this role, I was a teacher at Snug Harbor for 14 years, mostly in second grade. I've always promoted a positive growth mindset within the classroom, and now I'm able to work with small groups of students to watch them grow and become flexible learners in math.
So these math specialists are truly a jack of all trades. There's nothing that they will not do to help students and staff. Tonight we'll focus on their major roles, that of data analyst, proctor of screeners and progress monitoring, teacher, co-teacher, and supporter of the math interventionists. In the beginning of the year, they'll look at the fall map data, they'll attend ILTs, and they'll have discussions with the classroom teachers. All of this comes into play as they figure out what students they'll be servicing. Our focus this year has been on grades 2, 3, and 4, and there are several reasons for this decision. The first one was equity. The addition of 3 new math interventionists gave us the ability to put a math interventionist in all 3 elementary schools, which is something we've been looking to do for a long time. But not all elementary schools house grade 5. Spreading 9 staff members across 13 buildings just was not going to be feasible. They would have been spread way too thin. We are also dealing with the fallout of the pandemic, and our grade 2 students were in kindergarten during remote learning. Our 3rd graders were in 1st grade and didn't finish kindergarten, where grade 4 didn't finish 1st grade. So as a result, we're seeing gaps in foundational math skills in these particular grades. And we also have map data on these students. So as I mentioned before, this is the data we look at first as we're determining who to service. Now, the team is still supporting K1 and 5 when they can. They're sharing resources. They're planning with new teachers. They're assisting with screeners in kindergarten and grade 1 since we don't have map data on those students. This year, we're trying out the universal screener for number sense by Forefront as a possible screener for kindergarten and grade 1, and Dr. Nikki Newton's math running records as a diagnostic. MAP helps us identify students in need of intervention. These screeners and diagnostics let the math interventionists know what exactly the students need to work on to move them forward through the math continuum. Similar to the MAP, these are conducted 3 times per year. So in the next clip, you'll see Denise Reddy, who is conducting a math running record on a 2nd grader. The math running record looks at students' fact fluency.
Hi, Jeremy. We're going to do a running record today. We're going to do it on addition. So can you give me the answers starting here and going down? And can I just have your hands up on the table for me? Thanks, son.
1, 3, 5, 8, 10, 14, 14, 11.
How'd you get that one?
I counted.
You counted on?
Yeah.
Okay.
15.
Excellent job. All right. Can you tell me what is 4 plus 6?
10.
And 5 plus 5?
10.
All right, now we're going to play a little game where I'm going to give you a number and you're going to tell me the number that goes with it to make 10. Like a puzzle, like a friend of 10, okay? 7 plus
3.
9 plus
1.
2 plus
8.
6 plus
4.
3 plus,
7.
so do you think you know your friends of 10? I think so too. Nice job. All right. 10 plus 4 equals,
14.
10 plus 2 equals,
12.
10 plus 6 equals,
16.
7 plus 7,
14.
6 plus 6,
12.
and what do we call those facts?
Doubles facts.
4 plus 4,
Oh yeah, oh yeah, 8.
8. 8 plus 8,
16.
and 9 plus 9.
18.
And what do we call those facts?
Doubles facts.
Those are doubles facts too, all right. How about 5 plus 6?
11.
11. How did you get that?
I counted.
Show me how you count. Can you tell me?
What
number did you start with?
The bigger number.
So you started with,
6.
and then you counted on?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can see from this video that this student clearly knows the doubles. They know their friends of 10, they know their teen numbers. He actually grew 5 levels from fall to winter, which is fabulous. We can also see he's currently still isn't as strong as we'd like to see in his doubles plus 1. This quick diagnostic, which only takes a few minutes, will influence instructional decisions going forward. When Denise works with this student again, she will help him make that connection between 5 plus 5, which he knows really well, and 6 plus 5. This will ultimately make learning the doubles plus 1 easier for him now that he's stronger in his doubles. In the next clip, Denise will be using a universal screener of number sense from Forefront with a 3rd grader. You'll notice that these questions are a little bit broader than the last questions that we saw. There we go.
All right, Vicki, today we're gonna do some counting, okay? So can you start at the number 302 and count backwards for me, and I'll tell you when to stop.
301, 300, 299, 298, 297.
You can stop right there. Nice job. All right. I'm just gonna show the card to the camera. Can you read that card for me?
200 minus 198.
200 minus 198. Do you know what that answer is? 2. How did you get that?
Because 198 plus 2 equals 200.
Excellent. Can I just show something to the camera? So if the student was unable to solve this, we give that as a prompt to help them out. Okay. You didn't need any help on that one. I'm just going to show that one to the camera. Can you read that card for me?
299 plus 102.
Do you know what that is?
Mm. $301.
301. I'm going to give you a little help on this. Can you tell me what that card says?
299 plus 2.
Do you know what 299 plus 2 is?
301.
So this is 301. So what do you think 299 plus 102 is?
401.
401. Very good. And guess what? You're all done.
So from this clip, you can see that in both of these diagnostic tools, that we're looking at the student's thinking. We're looking to see if the student is asking for a piece of paper when they do 200 minus 198. Are they looking to cross out their zeros and regroup using that algorithm? Or like this student here, did they realize that 198 plus 2 was 200, so 200 minus 198 must be 2. These types of questions allow for us to see the flexibility in thinking, which is what makes students strong mathematicians, and whether or not they can make the connection between these problems. All of this information will influence future instructional decisions. So how are the students doing that we've been servicing? We take a look at the data so far. Schools are just finishing up math testing this week, so please be aware that this data we're sharing is not complete. Some schools at this time haven't finished testing, and that this data is made up of the students that we were targeting for instruction. So when we look at that data of the grades that, and the schools that have completed their testing, in grade 2, the average RIT increase from fall to winter was over 11.5 RIT points. And for grade 3, the average increase was over 9 RIT points. And for grade 4, the average RIT increase was over 6 RIT points, which we are thrilled with. So once the winter map testing is complete, the math interventionists, along with the classroom teachers, will look at the data again and make adjustments to their targeted groups.
I'm going to explain about the push-in model, but I just want you to know it's a little different speaking to you than it is to the classroom. So bear with me. So with the push-in model, the math interventionist goes into the teacher's classroom when she's teaching math. And what happens is the teacher and the math interventionist collaborate, and they both teach various aspects of the math lesson that day. When it's time for the activity and we put the students into small groups, we're able to have both the teacher and the math interventionist circulate throughout the classroom and visit each individual group of students. So not the individual, each group of students, okay? So we get a clearer picture of what everybody is doing and not just a couple of students. And then, let's see, with another scenario, when a push-in model is when the class is doing math centers, and that is when the students are already in groups, say 4 or 5 different groups, and the teacher is at one station, at one math center, and the math interventionist is at another. And so the students will come, we rotate them through, but the math interventionist is able to work with about 3 or 4 students at a time and really emphasize what's going on or see where, build their fluency or strategies that they need help with. You're going to see a clip in just a moment, and that's with Kim Jones' math class. She's a 3rd grade teacher at Marymount. Do you know 6 times 11? No. Okay.
66.
Yeah, okay.
It
How do you know
actually
that?
is.
How do you know that? Yeah.
Look, my brother's talking to me.
How do you know that?
I don't know.
Okay, well, let's think about it. Because maybe we want to help our friends here, okay? So what do we know that's close to 11 that we might know the multiplication back to?
6 times 10.
6 times 10. Good. So write that down. What are these called? Multiplication. Equal what?
Groups.
Equal groups. So we need one more group of
6.
Of 6.
Yes, no,
Did you see that? You are 3.
Which one? Yep.
So what you saw there in the clip was the math interventionist me in this case, working with a small group of students. They were making connections, and they were working on a strategy to help them learn their multiplication facts. So the strategy has been taught in a prior class, and we just keep reinforcing it, going over it a small group, so we can make sure all the students know how to implement the strategy. And then at the teacher station, it was Ms. Jones working with some students with building their fact fluency, again with multiplication, and they were playing the game of Splat. And you saw at the beginning, there was a few students, they were at a different station, they happened to be on a computer station. They were working together, and I don't know if you saw in the background, there was some other students, they were working on the floor in another station, so that's how the stations work, so. So working with teachers and working with students there's those two good reasons why I really like the push-in model.
So another model that we use is the pull-out model. And the pull-out model allows us to service students either from the same homeroom, or I can pull 2 students from one homeroom and a couple from 2 other homerooms all at the same time. They come into my classroom, and we'll work on identified gaps in their learning or areas of struggle. And sometimes that group that comes in, it could be a challenge task that's an extension of what the teacher's been working on. If there's a group that's really ready to dig deeper and do a bit more, but the rest of the class isn't quite there, that can be a group that comes in. So there's a lot of flexibility. The groups can be fluid. We can add students, or, if students are needing something from their homeroom math teacher, they can stay for that time. I think the pull-out model, some kids just love coming to a different space. It's a smaller group. And it's a place also where they're free to share if they have anxiety about math, or if they're confused about things, maybe they don't want to say that in front of the whole class. It's really a risk-free environment that we provide for them. And again, you can see so much of the math, we're really trying to identify their thinking. How are they getting their answers? How are they approaching the problems? And so the small group pull-out model, they're really in a different classroom, and they can share a lot more, I think, at that in that space. The kids generally love coming. I personally love this model because I love to motivate them. I love to make it fun, where kids feel like maybe they're not doing well with math. They have great success. I can meet them where they're at. We can still have challenge tasks for the level they're at, and they experience those moments where they feel like champions in math, and they really are growing. They really are gaining understanding where maybe they didn't have it. So the clip that you're going to see first, this will be a second grade group from the Marshall. And these students come from 3 different classes in the room, and they're working on developing their understanding of subtraction with regrouping. So we use a lot of hands-on, a lot of manipulatives. We really need the students to see the math before they start trying the algorithm. So these are grade 2 students here. Check, how do we know this is 34? Callie, is that 34? How do you know?
Because these ones are 4 and these are 2 tens, so that makes it 30.
Ah, can someone count it out for us? Adam, can you count it out for us?
10, 20, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. 57 plus 60 is 70. I just did something. I didn't know that, by the way. Anyway, is it my turn? I got 66. What? You still had 70 and I got 66 and you only got 72. Wait, really? Wait, I got a 6. Oh yeah. Wait. If I lose this, then I'll have just. Yes. I can take away 6. Your turn. Am I winning? 4. You need a 3. A 10. Because I see a 10.
again, we want to make it fun for them. But, you know, they're learning about place value. And, you know, so many times, not necessarily these friends here on the video, but so many times we play this game called Race to Zero, because really they're physically trading a 10 for 10 ones so that they have enough to subtract maybe the number 8. So a lot of times I'll stop midway and say, you know, can you give me the number that you have on your mat? And if it's 72 and 68, and I'll say, well, who is closer to 0? Because we want to know, do they understand the lesser amount is literally closer to 0? Some do not. And other students, you know, they will have a great debate saying 68 is more because 72 only has 2 ones and he has 8. So the person with 72 is telling me they're closer to 0. So it's, again, we have to identify where their wrong thinking is or misconception is with regard to place value. Do they understand what the ones really mean? It's 1. And a 10 is, you know, 1 10 is 10. So there's so much that goes into that informal assessment when we work with the small groups, and we see so much in their conversation and their thinking that helps us know what is my next step to sort of address an area. These young learners, those building blocks are so huge that give them a background in math, in their thinking, in their concept building, so that they really do become more proficient in solving problems. So the second portion here for a pull-out model is a 4th grade group from the Clifford Marshall. And again, these students come from 3 different classes. And this is a really great example of, you know, how the students themselves give us good information. We rely on data. The teachers met with me. We constantly collaborate and communicate about what students might need. And so data would show us these kids were ready for an extension. So while I was working with them, the students themselves requested a more challenging task. So they took a math game that came with our new math program, the IM program. It was dealing with unit fractions and building like maybe 7/8. It was a game where they had a secret fraction, and they had to find unit fractions to build 7/8. And they said, Ms. Davis, can we use improper fractions and mixed numerals? So we were going beyond, and they created this game. They renamed it as the Special Secret Fraction Game. They wrote the cards. They created improper fractions and mixed numerals. We talked about what would be a good range to build. So they came up with the whole number 2. They created this game as a group, and it was wonderful to hear their conversation, to see them get involved in fractions, and they wanted to use equivalent fractions. So that's what you're going to see on this clip.
1 whole plus 1/8 is 1 full, and 1/8 equal to 5.
Boys and girls, Skylar just brought
How I built it. So first I got 2/4, which is equal to 1/2 or 4/8. And I also got 1/8, which is equal to 5/8, which is my secret fraction.
Nicely done, Sarah. Good job. Good thing 2/8 is a 4th. So how much would that be?
2/4 is a half.
Is that a half? And do you have a half?
Yes.
Ooh, so how much is that then? For your secret fraction.
5/6.
How many 6 do you have up here?
I have 2/6 and a third.
And what is a third? What is a third the same as?
2/6.
So that would be 2/6?
I need 1 more 6.
Oh, high five. Hope you draw with that 1 more 6. Good thinking, Liddy. You know, we had mentioned before that we collaborate with teachers and we try to support them. The students in that group made this game, and then I was able to take a set and share it with the 4th grade teachers so that now they can use that game, student-made, as a center activity in their classroom. And then these little rock stars feel like they can go in and teach their friends how to play the game that they made. And it's just really, you know, bolstering their confidence in math and, again, being responsive to what the kids need.
Okay, so I'm going to follow up a little bit on what Holly just mentioned as our role as math interventionists. Not only are we supporting the students, but we're also helping to help the teachers as well. And so one of the things we've done is help the teachers to organize their new center bins, sharing games and ideas, and also, of course, helping them with the implementation of our new math program, Illustrative Math. So one thing that happened at the schools that I work at, through conversations and collaborations with the teacher, we realized that fluency practice was one of the areas that the kids really needed a little bit more support with and in. And so we got creative with the schedule, and during snack time, the kids at the schools that I work at, we have this thing called Snacks and Facts. It kind of was born out of conversations with teachers. All right, how are we going to use this time? It happens to be the end of one class, the beginning of a new class, and it's kind of a transitional period. And so we tried it out one day within the classroom, and the kids loved it. And so now we kind of have it's our little thing we have for half an hour at each of the schools, and it's Snacks and Facts time. So I work with kids in small groups, and we play games like Double Shutter, Kakuma, Numtanga, Rebus Math Puzzles, and Freeze Facts. And what you'll see, you're going to see a video clip of fourth graders from Bernazani, and they're playing, while they eat their snacks, they're playing this game, Double Shutter, and you'll see that they're using strategies, and you'll also see that while they're playing, they're learning, they don't even realize it, but they're having a blast while they're doing it.
I think Snacks and Facts is really fun because I like doing the games and having more time for math, and also hanging out with Miss Campbell.
8, okay, 8.
Imagine if you were out now.
All right, ooh, that would be a bummer, right? So keep going.
I don't care if I lose, I'm just doing it for the math.
That's true. I love that, Emilio. Chase, that's awesome. 3 plus 4 is?
6.
Try that again. 3 plus 4.
That was 7. 2 plus.
Yeah, no worries. You got it, buddy.
7 times 10 equals 70.
Nice job. Cassie's turn.
Cassie's gonna win. 4 times 7 is...
4 times 7. Think of that strategy you did before.
Looks like, can we? Sorry, can I help?
You can help her, yes.
What's, 7 times 3, right? 28.
Nice job. How did your mind think of that? I'm just curious.
7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7.
Yeah, so you, awesome. You kind of did, so you added your 4 7s, and then you got 2 7s and made 14, and doubled the 14. Awesome, good job. Okay, here we go.
8 times 10 is 80.
8 times 10 is 80. Yellow.
So
So
can
look
one
right
use-
in here. Can you make 9 at all? I think you can. Remember, you can use more than 2 numbers.
And then 8
There you
and
go.
2.
Exactly. Okay. All right. Keep going.
7 plus 3 equals 10.
2 plus 1 is
So
3.
the answer has to be on it with. So it's like I get 9. I get
2 plus 1 is 3. Okay.
Look.
So I got
I don't
4
get
plus
it.
1
I
is
get it.
5.
Okay, I got it. Amelia.
5
so
plus
do
5
you
is
see how
10.
it's 22 and 20.
10
no,
plus
22 and
15
2.
is 25.
And you see a 24 on
Good
here?
game.
That's how you know.
You beat me.
That's
Good.
Okay,
All right. All right, so as you can see from the video, the kids were engaged in learning math, but during their snack time, they were having a good time doing that. That game that you saw, Double Shutter, it's the kids were learning, they roll the dice and they have to add. And when they do that, they find the sum, and then they look for different ways to decompose the number, but there's all sorts of strategy involved in doing that. And so part of the skill that they don't even realize they're learning is being a flexible thinker, which is huge in math, and it will carry them through the grades across all grade levels. The beauty of that game, too, is the kids can play it independently. So I've left some of the games in the classroom, and the kids will tell me that they use it. They use it during indoor snack break, which is awesome. They can play cooperatively, or most of them like to play competitively to try to win, and the lowest score wins. In the last part of that clip, you saw kids playing that Freeze Facts game, and so we worked as a group. The kids were strategizing and solving their math problems, and so it's just a card game that you pull out, and different things are written on the cards. And the best part about the Snacks and Facts is that the kids actually aren't required to come. We invited a certain group, we identified a group of kids that we thought would benefit, but the fact that they choose to come, I think, is really awesome and inspiring. Our entire team of math interventionists were working really hard to show the students that math is fun. And so Snacks and Facts is just one way that we're doing that. And the kids are learning, they're having fun, and then the idea is catching on, and some other schools and other classrooms might be doing the same Snacks and Facts idea.
I will. Well, this slide says it all. We are better together. This year, we moved the math interventionist team offices to Snug Harbor. We have a common place for the team to plan together, and that has been a game changer. There's such a wealth of knowledge between these 9 ladies, and the office space allows them to collaborate. It can be challenging working in multiple schools and multiple grades, and together they can strategize. If someone is trying to figure out the best map report to run, someone is there to help them. If they're looking for an activity for a particular grade, someone is there to give a suggestion. These women are specialists in their field and each having their own individual strengths. So when they come together to decide on the best way to address, a group of students with a particular need, there is no lack of strategies or suggestions. To quote Helen Keller, "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much." And this team accomplishes so much every day. And that concludes our presentation, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee? Mr. Guttrow?
I'll just say, I love the enthusiasm of the group. I mean, I feel like you're, just through the presentation, you're one heck of a cohesive group. I love the passion everybody has for their job. I mean, you can just feel it. I love the choice of the video clips. It was very instructive, I think, for us to see the different creative techniques that you use at different levels. Super helpful. I think it's enormously beneficial to students, and that's exactly what we want to see up here, so that it just comes alive in the classroom with the teaching. So do you offer access to math interventionists for any advanced students? Do people ask for that, and have you done that?
Sure, that was the 4th grade group. And again, there's constant collaboration with the classroom teachers. For the pull-out model, which I tend to use most of my day, I do push in some. We touch base on a daily, almost daily basis. And if there's a need for students who are ready to go deeper, I don't necessarily go a grade level above because there's so much you can do with each concept. I can pull those kids, we sometimes decide for a couple weeks, and that's what you saw in the film. The other students were still really on that lesson they were on involved unit fractions. They were not ready for mixed numerals and improper fractions. This group was. And so there's so much they can learn about the concept of fractions. And it's fluid. We just met again this morning and talked about some of the results from the MAP scores and what could we do differently to service, do we need to? And in that group, you'll see sometimes there can be up to 14 in that group. Sometimes it's only 8. It depends. We touch base and the teacher says, I want to keep so-and-so for this lesson today. There's a portion I'd really like to meet with him on. So we're very flexible. And we try to use our time as wisely as we can. Julie came up with snacks and facts, and what I do at the Marshall when I'm able, they now have lunch in school on a Wednesday, which can be a really difficult time. You can't really teach. You don't want them pulling all these materials out. So I push in, and we'll do higher order thinking tasks with the whole group, with grade 2. I try to go into the teachers and offer their thinking tasks. It's teaching children how to think and how to approach a high-level problem, a challenging problem. And we'll do things like put their names in the problem, so it's super exciting. But they love it. They're eating their lunch, and they're jumping out of their seats, raising hands and wanting to participate. So we try our best with the schedule we have to take all of those moments and really say, where is the need, and how can we meet the needs of the majority of our learners the best we can?
Yeah, I think there was a question in the vocal surveys that talked about relevance. Is what I'm learning in school relevant? And it sounds like a lot of the work that you do is to help them to understand the relevance. Super good stuff. So thank you.
Just to tie into what you said, Mr. Guttrow, do you ever get into different bases with that advanced group? With place value, like base 5, base 2, or is that just too much for these little guys?
For grade 2, it's a little too much. We're
Okay.
working on our hundreds, and we try to get to 1,000 by June.
Okay. Any other questions? Mrs. Lebo?
Thank you so much. This was great. I just, I loved when we got our literacy program in. And the fact that we've been able to add this and really strengthen those skills of the kids, I think it's going to really serve us. The pandemic did a little damage, but I think this is going to really serve us as getting our kids back on track and making sure that they can fly through their education. So I think it's just great that you're doing it. I love the visuals because you can really see what's going on and you can see the fun and the interest there. I have a couple of questions, but what's the caseload like? And is it equal across people? I mean, how did you decide how does Marshall and Montclair share something? Marshall's so big.
It is different depending on, originally before we added these 3 math interventionists, we had them in the Title I schools. So Marshall had 2 math interventionists. They've kept pretty much the same, though now Deb goes 1 day to Montclair. So it's not equal, but it's equitable. We looked at the data, we saw where the need was, we wanted to keep more in schools that needed more. And, you know, some of them, like Holly, she's full-time at Marshall, but Elise splits between 2 schools. So it all depends on the
Okay,
need.
I feel much better. I thought Marshall only had somebody that they were sharing, and they were so big.
No,
We
no.
did hear from our 2 schools that have 5th graders that they would like you to be there, too. So maybe we can, I don't know, find some way to get some more math interventionists. I hate to drop it on the 5th grade, especially where this kid's coming up to, these are the kids who are so impacted are going to be in the 5th grade next year.
Right.
You can't just let them go.
Right.
So we really heard that from those principals, so. But I just think, I can't imagine how you do the schedule. Can't imagine.
Again, it's very flexible,
That's
it
why
looks very
we
different.
do have to be flexible.
You have to be flexible, yeah.
In different schools, and it's,
Yeah, but it's just, it's wonderful, really wonderful. Thank you so much. How lucky we are. How lucky we are to have this.
Mr. Bergoli?
It was really telling, just watching the kids' faces, how engaged they were and how happy they were to be there. They're all smiling. It was just refreshing to see that. Instead of, ugh, math, it was, math. It was just, and the presentation was fabulous. It was well put together, and they explained just what you're doing with these kiddos. I just want to speak about Julie. I worked with her over at Marymount. She knew this was coming, I'm sure. And she's, in my 34 years of being in the Quincy Public Schools, probably one of the most professional and best teachers I've ever had an opportunity to work with. And she has a wonderful daughter, Caroline, who's a senior at Quincy High School, had a fabulous game against North last week. Scored 16 points, had a couple of threes. So it was just great seeing colleagues and their kids and how well they're doing. And again, thank you so much for all you guys do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Bergoli would have loved snacks and facts. Mayor
It's the
Cope?
snack spot.
I was looking for candy right before the meeting. Found it.
I saw him, actually. He dropped the wrapper. It was tough watching him pick up the wrapper. I just want to add my 2 cents and just to thank you. It is telling when you see the work in the classroom. So we do see videos from time to time. You get into policy, you get into the numbers, but when you see what's happening physically in the classroom, it gives us a great feeling. With that, we're coming up to budget time, so if somebody wants to volunteer to intervene with Jim Mulaney to work on the numbers, we'd take it. Thank you very much.
I'd just like to thank you as well. And, you know, I was that kid that had to put their hands on the table because I was the finger counter.
So you
And-
knew why.
Oh, I knew right away why his hands went on the table. So thank you very much, especially for this, when you ask the kids the strategies they get to get to the right answer. And I just appreciate all that you do, especially grabbing the kids so young. So thank you very much for your help and the presentation. Thank you. Okay. Okay, item B, donations. Superintendent.
Thank you. We have a donation from the Quincy Rotary Club recently made in the amount of $3,400 to purchase a copy of Mother Bruce by Brian Higgins for each grade 1 student in the Quincy Public Schools. if we could have a motion to accept the donation.
On the motion, Mr. Bergoli, seconded by Mrs. Lebo, we accept.
motion?
On the motion, Mrs. Lebo.
Did our curriculum people look at this book?
Yes, I believe they did. Did you not hear it?
I said, did
Mother
our
Bruce?
curriculum folks look at this book before we purchased it for all of our first graders?
Mother Bruce?
Oh, so, and that was okay with them?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry, yep.
Is it a roll call?
I think voice vote.
Voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
We'll add that it is a good book. I've read it for Read Across America week before. It's a very cute book, yes.
Item C, Superintendent.
Okay. I believe it is a grant in the amount of $145,500 from the Massachusetts Capital Skills Grant Program to provide enhancements for career technical vocational educational programs at both high schools. If we could have a motion to accept the grant.
On the motion, Mrs. Lebo, seconded by Mrs. Hubley, we accept. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Item D,
Another grant of $2,500 from the Massachusetts State Treasurer Deborah Goldberg's Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation for the Credit for Life Fair at both high schools. If we could have a motion to accept the grant.
on the motion, Mrs. Hubley, seconded by Mr. Guttrow, we accept. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Item E, Mrs. Lebo.
Yes, so Ms. Hoogley and I, when we were at the conference, we learned that there have been some changes in the way warrants are handled, and that we have to do a few things, and one of those things is we have to look at the warrant every time it's done. And how often is a warrant done? Monthly, or is it?
Yeah, about
Once a week?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, and they're huge. And they're huge. I've looked at them.
Yeah.
But anyway, the two things we have to do is we have to vote to have somebody sign the warrant for us, and we are suggesting that we take that and make it our vice chair. And then we should also have a vote to have a alternative in case the vice chair can't be there, so the warrant can, we can't pay our bills if we don't get the warrant to City Hall. And then we'll have to have some way to look at the warrants, and someone's going to share the warrants with us, I believe, right? In a shared document?
Scan and email it.
Yes, yes, and actually, this has been a discussion topic in the school committee clerks email group that I'm in. And some cities and towns have actually created a warrant subcommittee. And that those couple of people are responsible for reviewing
Oh.
the warrant and then
what a
reporting
great
to school
idea.
committee. So it's not required, but that's just the way that they're doing it. So
And that's a weekly thing? I think we'll go with our vice chair and our alternative for now and see if we feel comfortable. As long as we have access to them and we can scan them,
Yes.
because they're huge.
Yes.
That
Yep.
meeting would take a long time with 3 people on it.
Yes,
It would.
yes.
I'm
Yeah, and
happy
it
to-
wasn't
I'm
necessarily.
happy to do it. I don't know who would like to be the alternate.
I'd be Mr. Bergoli and I are free enough to either one of us be the alternate, I think. So, me or you, Mr. Bergoli, I don't care. Mr. Bergoli will be the alternate.
Need a vote?
Thank you.
On a,
Yes, so you're not gonna refer it to subcommittee for discussion, you're gonna just take, you wanna take care of it tonight?
Yeah,
Okay.
is that okay?
Yep.
on a motion, Mrs. Lebo, seconded by Mrs. Hubley, we appoint me as the signer for the warrants and Mr. Bergoli as the alternate.
Roll call.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Begoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Cahill, Mr. Guttrow?
Yes.
Mrs. Hubley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lebo?
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
And Mayor Koch?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I see no additional business under item 7, communications. Upcoming school committee meetings, February 8th, March 8th, at 6:30 here at Cottington. Upcoming subcommittee meetings are at Cottington. There has been a change. The quarterly budget and finance is no longer February 6th, but rescheduled to February 15th. Facilities, Transportation, and Security, again, is no longer February 6th and has been rescheduled. Is that also, Mrs. Owens, on the 15th?
No, that's a date still to be
A
determined.
date to be determined. The Policy Subcommittee on February 6th has been rescheduled to February 15th, March 1st, both at 7 PM. The Joint Special Ed in Teaching and Learning, February 15th at 6. Athletics and Wellness, March 1st at 6. Teaching and Learning, March 1st at 6:30. Reports of the subcommittees, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. I will report. A meeting was held on January 9th of the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Subcommittee. Director of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion and Belonging, Kim Conley, presented the Performance Improvement Plan, beginning with the draft of the new vision statement, followed by a comparison of staff and student demographics. DEI work is underway across the district in the areas of student support services, curriculum and instruction, family engagement, and school-based DEI teams, communications improvements with the family liaisons and translation line, and website upgrades are all areas of recent growth for the district. Opportunities and challenges include creating pathways to increase staff diversity in the face of decreased enrollment in education prep programs, and competition for a limited number of currently licensed educators of color. Goals of 22-23 were also introduced. I would ask that if you are interested in the remainder of the minutes of the meeting, to consult the website for the full report. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Guttrow?
So, to the point that was brought up in the correspondence that came to us today, I did ask during the subcommittee why it wasn't filmed. Do we need to take a vote on that? Whether or not we're going to do that, or did you just make a decision that we're going to?
Yeah, just
allow
made the decision
subcommittees?
based on us being back and continue to inviting the public in, as prior to the COVID restrictions, we just went back to the original way of doing things.
No, I understand you explained that night, and the public didn't see that, and none of that's reflected in the minutes. My question was, and Mrs. Lebo called it a COVID keeper, whether or not we could continue to film the subcommittee meetings, which was one of the asks, and was the ask that we heard today, and it was a discussion that we asked that night. So
I would expect that we could discuss that, put it on the agenda and discuss it.
that was my expectation tonight, but I didn't see it on the agenda, so I'm asking that it be added to the next agenda.
Will do. Thank you.
And on
Mrs.
the-
Lebo?
How many subcommittee meetings are there going to be before we meet again, Ms. Owens?
None.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Where are we now?
Policy.
Policy.
Oh, policy. Mr. Bergoli to report on the January 9th meeting.
Policy Subcommittee met on January 9th here in the Cottington Building. We reviewed the school meeting calendar, which was up for discussion this evening. We also reviewed the draft of the QPS school year calendar for 2023-2024. Mrs. Lebo suggested if the city has a half-day before Christmas, the school district should also do so. Mr. Santoro would like the Lunar New Year to be observed as a holiday in 2024. It is Saturday, February 10th, so then Friday, February 9th would be a no-school day. The draft 2023-2024 calendar will remain in subcommittee. Mrs. Owens will provide draft language around excused absences for cultural holidays not currently observed as no school days for the next meeting. The school committee then reviewed proposed revisions to the school committee policy book sections 4.3 grants proposals. We heard that tonight. We also heard about the new regulations for grant gifts and updated language. Mr. Mulaney is concerned about the timing of the IDEA and Title I and Title III grants as they fund salaries. We will need to figure out how to approve in June as part of the budget process. Mrs. Lebo said that the purpose of the regulation change is for school committee to ensure that the intent of grants and gifts match the intentions of the school committee. In addition, the school committee needs to appoint a designee and an alternate to review and sign warrants, which we just discussed. And they all appeared on the agenda this evening. Any questions? All right, this is all online for the complete text.
Thank you. Okay. Item 9, executive session. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for contract negotiations, and I don't believe we'll be returning in public.
I'll make that motion.
On the Mayor Koch, seconded by Mrs. Lebo. Superintendent?
Mr. Begoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Cahill, Mr. Guttrow?
Yes.
Mrs. Hubley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lebo?
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
And Mayor Coe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.